Good morning, everyone. My name is Prathyusha, and I'm from Mlritm, Assistant Professor in the Department of English. We are here to discuss English for Skill Enhancement subject. The topic is Go Kiss the World, which falls under Unit 5. So, Go Kiss the World is written by Mr. Subrata Bagchi. There's a picture on your screen. If you're talking about the introduction of author, Subrata Bagchi is born in 31st May 1957. Some sources also claim his birth to be in 1959, but then there's a book which is published which says it's 1957. He's an Indian entrepreneur and business leader. He's a co-founder of Mindtree now, which is called as LTI Mindtree, an Indian technology MNC. Mindtree, one of India's most admired software companies, that has built the Aadhaar platform apart from its various contributions to technology. Now, if we're talking about his books, he has autobiographed his life story in the book, Go Kiss the World. Whatever has happened in his life, you can go read it in a detailed book, Go Kiss the World. But in today's lesson, we're going to focus only the extract. The other books, The High Performance Entrepreneur, Go Kiss the World, The Professional MBA at 16, The Elephant Catchers, and Sell. Now, when we're talking about awards and recognition, his last book, Sell, has received the C.K. Prahalad Award for the Best Business Book of 2018. Now, all his books have been translated into many Indian languages. Apart from Indian languages, they've also been translated to Chinese and Korean languages. Okay, now that was introduction of the author. Now, before I begin to discuss the lesson with you, if I have to ask you to define what success means to you and what are the parameters that fall under success, take a moment and tell me, what do you think about success? How would you define success? Well, I've asked this question a number of times to my students and they say, buying a house, bank balance, that's monetary. Parents. And some also say getting married to their loved ones. So getting married to their loved ones. Now, if you have to define success in these parameters, this class takes you to focus on another level. It challenges your perception. This lesson makes you realize that there's more beyond material possessions. We're going back to the previous slide where it says parents, buying a house for parents, making them proud, bank balance, getting married. Apart from this, what can you contribute to the world? This lesson changes and challenges your perception. It says, this lesson would make you realize that there's more life beyond material possessions, and it also contributes to what you are going to contribute to the world, how you're going to treat people. End of the day, a lot of successful people, if you watch their initial days of their work and interviews, you realize they have also mentioned that I want people to remember me as a good person. You might have heard such statements from successful people. Now, this lesson changes your perception. Now, if you're talking about the sub-themes of this lesson teaches the young generation parenting and molding attitudes of children. It's more essential that we also focus, apart from making money, buying assets, we also have to focus on parenting. The sub-themes of this lesson, the author subtly focuses on parenting. There's a lot of contribution of his parents in the life of our author, Mr. Subrata Bagchi. And of course, I've been claiming this point, money is not what defines you. By the end of the lesson, if my students are able to carry this one concept with them, then this class has been successful. Now, the background information to the lesson. Now, we've never heard this term, go kiss the world. These words have been put together. Go Kiss the World. There's a comma over there. Is a welcome address given to IIM Bangalore students class of 2006 by the author. And in this speech, Bagchi is telling the audience the principles taught to him by his parents. I said there's a lot of contribution. He awards all his achievements to the parenting of his childhood. The lesson that defines success and his childhood. Now, the speech delivered in IIM Bangalore motivates young Indians and people from rural towns to encourage to recognize their inner qualities and realize their full potential. Now, a lot of times, students do not know where to go, whom to ask. They need to ask themselves a lot of questions, know what is best for them, know their potential. So this lesson is going to focus on that. Now, the significance of the title, as I said, this is a beautiful title, Go Kiss the World. The book is based on the last words that have been uttered by the author's mother. While she was on her deathbed, she has uttered these words. Now, Go Kiss the World is an inspiration to young India and to those who come from small town India, from rural places who do not know, since they want to make some change in their world, in their lives, so they have been studying. So, urging them to recognize and develop their inner strengths, thereby helping them realize their potentiality and believe in themselves. Now, the key takeaways of this class, of this lesson are, this book renders many life lessons. Like, the first lesson is we should never misuse public facilities like sea, parks, roads, etc. A lot of times we Indians take public transport, public facilities for granted. We shouldn't be doing that. Now, I've seen a lot of Indians who go from this country to another country. They maintain all the rules levied by that country. But when it comes to India, they do not do that. Okay. The second lesson, the second key takeaway in this lesson are, you'll have to show respect to your juniors, your subordinates. It's important to respect, of course, respect everyone, but most predominantly, you'll have to respect your juniors and subordinates because they deserve more respect, because they are up for challenges which a lot of us, I'm including myself, which a lot of us are not doing, are not ready to take. Another key takeaway is you should leave your newspaper and your toilet the way you expect to find it. It talks about etiquettes. Okay, and also, most important key takeaways, one should never measure personal success. I've asked you the one question previously, how would you define success? Monetary? No. One should never measure personal success and well-being with material things. Now, we're moving into the lesson. A background of the lesson, of the author, and the key takeaways are done. Now, let's look at the lesson. Subrata Bagchi is the last of all the 5 children of a small-time government servant in a family of 5 brothers. His father, name has not been mentioned throughout the lesson. His father is a district employment officer in Koraput, Orissa. His father is a small-time government servant, which means he's not a big job. It's one of those minor jobs that he has taken, but he's a government officer. So, background to his life was, there's no electricity, no primary education, no primary schools nearby, and water did not run out of a tap. I want you to understand how India was like many years ago. A lot of people do not relate with that. I want you to imagine how India was previously. There was not much facilities. So, as a result, the author did not go to school until the age of 8, and he was homeschooled by his mother. And of course, his father and other family members. So his father is a government officer, so he had to be transferred every year. So all the luggage, they've started their life with humble beginnings. There's not much of their assets. It's only the 5 children along with the father and mother. So Bakchi's father used to get transferred every year, and the family belongings you would fit into a jeep. No, that's all they have, into a jeep. Whenever they would get transferred, they would say, "Okay, we are going to some other district today. Let's travel." There's nothing else they need to carry. Maybe they do not have a lot of assets that we have right now today. So now we were talking about his father. Now it is about his mother. A background to who his mother is. His mother was raised by a widow who had come to India as a refugee, it seems. That's a new word for you, refugee. From the then East Bengal, she was a matriculate when she married Subrato's father. The narrator's father was given a jeep by the government. So from here, this lesson takes you into different perception. So there's a jeep at the author's house, but then they would never use it. The narrator's father was given a jeep by the government, but father refused to use it to commute to office. Even if he had to go to office, he would go by his personal means of commute. He told that the jeep is an expensive resource given by the government and it is not for his personal use. Now, as children, Bachi and his brothers were taught not to call driver by name. They had a driver, they had a jeep, hence they also had a driver. So when Bachi grew up to own a car, he repeated the lesson to his two small daughters, that makes Bachi and his children different from the rest of the people in Bachi's community. Either you call him as Bhaiya, Dada, any of these um, phrases before. All the brothers would ask their father to buy a new radio. And unlike, now this is a common thing. Every child would want something new. I want new toys. I want to go to new places. And poor thing, these 5 brothers would always want, whenever they saw Murphy, whenever there's a newspaper, there would be advertisements of radio or house or anything. So they wanted a new radio and a house of their own. But whenever they asked the father, Papa, we want a new house. Papa, please buy a new radio. All of our friends have. They listen to radio shows and they discuss in our class. So we want a new radio. Please buy it for them. But then the father said, I have 5 radios, implying those 5 radios to be his 5 kids. It's a sweet gesture by his father. So they wouldn't understand. They were very young. They wouldn't understand why father is denying their request. So they wanted to buy a new radio, but father would deny, and a house of their own, but father would definitely deny, because he says, "You, all of you, live in my heart, and I should live in your heart." That's more than what you think about monetary or above emotional connection. This paragraph on your screen focuses on the emotional connect of the family, the bonding. Not to measure personal success and sense of well-being through material possession. Okay, now I said the family moved from one place to another place every year. So every year, every house is a new beginning for his mother, of course, for the rest of the family. So the house which the government gave them rarely had fences. Government quarters, how do you expect it to be? Even now, they're not provided with more facilities. So they never had much fences. You guys know what fences are, the outer surroundings and portions that divide your house with the another person's house and the road. So the author, along with his mother, used to decorate the house by planting some seeds to show that this is our fence. Everyone would question his mother, why are you beautifying this house? A lot of people would ask her every year. So she would say, I believe after when I leave this house, the other person who comes to this house should be accustomed to this house. It has to be beautiful for the other person. So he learned from his mother that it is not what you create for yourself. It's not what she is creating for herself, but it is what you leave behind that defines your success. Right. Now, one fine day, as days passed on, the eldest among his brothers got a teaching job at the university in Bhubaneswar. So he had to prepare, and he had to also prepare for the civil services examinations. So the author, Mr. Bagchi, along with his mother, because he's living alone and he had to study. So they wanted to accompany his elder brother. So the first time he went to Bhubaneswar along with his mother, because his elder brother got a teaching job over there. For the first time in his life, in the whole family's life, they saw electricity in homes and water coming out of taps. So that was the first time. I think probably Bakshi would be around 10 years of age. You guys calculate, okay? It was around 1965, the country, now he was 10 years or 11 years old, and it was 1965, the country, India, was going to war with Pakistan. So his mother didn't know Oriya script. She could read only Bengali. Being Bengali, she did not know Oriya script. So in addition to his daily chores, now he had to help his mother and brother in lot of works. So he would read the newspaper end to end, from the first letter till the last letter in the newspaper. So this included a kind of imagination. Whatever he's reading, it created a circle around his mind, that whatever is happening in the war, he started imagining it in his mind. So the then Prime Minister coined the term Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan and galvanized the nation into patriotic feeling. That stirred a lot of energy in the air amongst all the Indians. Now, reading newspaper has created a sense of connectedness, I was saying the previous word, with the larger world, and it unlocked his imagination. Now, as a part of unlocking his imagination, he was saying that while he was reading newspaper, he would always believe that he was a person who's reading, that he was a person who's fighting the war, standing in front of the enemy, and he's fighting the war. He used to believe like that. So he always had some concept of imagination, very strong concept of imagination. As next few years unfolded, his mother's vision, eyesight, it deteriorated, and she was operated for cataract. When she got operated for cataract, it seems when she looked at Mr. Bagchi, the author, she said, "You look so beautiful. I never knew you would look so beautiful." It was the first compliment anyone could give him. Within weeks of getting her sight back, she developed a corneal ulcer and overnight became blind in both eyes. Now that was in the year 1969. So she died in 2000. Now you guys calculate what's the difference between these 2 years. It's almost 32 years of living in blindness, and she never for a second, he never heard her complain about her fate. A lot of people complain, why is my life like this? I shouldn't have been given such a life. I wish I died. A lot of questions in our mind, cursing God, cursing ourselves, right? It happens with all of us. But she never did that. I want you to understand how a strong woman she is. In 1992, while the narrator was posted, now life took him to many places, and the narrator had moved to US. His father was living a retired life with the eldest brother and had suffered a third-degree burn injury, it seems. An unfortunate thing has happened in his life. That is, his father got some burn injuries, it seems. So he was admitted in the Safdarjung hospital in Delhi. Now, a quick input about the Safdarjung hospital is, it is the most pathetic place for any person to stand. Imagine a person going and getting hospitalized, going for treatment there. The nurses are not well paid. They work for a lot of hours, and also there's cockroach infested place, it seems. Father was on his deathbed, third degree burn. Of course, he is in his deathbed. From neck to the toe of his body, he was all in band-aid. So when he was in his deathbed, but he was more concerned about overworked nurses, okay, than his own state. Father died the next day. He was a man whose success was defined by his principles, how economically he would save money and use his money, his universalism, and the sense of inclusion. Before I move to the next slide, while he was in deathbed, it seems, there is a portion that discusses his universalism. That is, there's one scenario when Mr. Bagchi's father was a day previous before Subrato Bagchi's father died. There was a scenario that had happened. There was an incident that had happened. That is, Subrato Bagchi was really helpless because there was no blood in one of those bottles which had to be given to his father. There was no glucose, there was no blood. So he went to the nurse and requested, "Can you please come and see, my father is on his deathbed and the bottle is empty." She said, "If you can change it, you change it by yourself." She spoke rudely to Mr. Bagchi, but Bagchi was really helpless, right? So then the next day, when the next moment when his father saw the nurse, he said, "Why are you still working here? Don't you think your shift is over and you'll have to go home?" Even on his deathbed, my point over here is, even on deathbed, Mr. Bagchi's father was concerned about another person. Now that shows his inclusion. Bagchi's father, if we're talking about the political aspects and political beliefs, Bagchi's father was a fervent believer in the British Raj. He sincerely doubted the capability of post-Indian. He never believed, "I don't think Indians would rule India as well as the British Raj is ruling us." So he had certain, everyone has our opinions, and he had certain opinion that British Raj can govern India better than Indians. On the other hand, his mother was the exact opposite. When she was a schoolgirl, she had garlanded Mr. Subhash Chandra Bose. She had a favorite Indian leaders. At the age of 82, his mother had a paralytic stroke and was lying in the government hospital in Bhubaneswar. So Bagchi visited India once again. She was neither getting better nor she was moving on. Eventually, Bagchi had to leave for work. Then she said, "Why are you kissing me? Go kiss the world." Now, these are the words that have been spoke to our author during his mother's deathbed. Now, if I have to conclude this lesson, end of this lesson, I want my students to focus that success to Bagchi is about vision, how you see, how far you see yourself, if you can achieve something, or it's about sensitivity to small people. You remember the incident where his father was on deathbed, but still he was sensitive towards the overworked nurse. It's about connectedness to a larger world existence. A lot of people think that I have to work better, I have to look good, you'll also have to think about the other person also. It's not just your life, it's not about you. Your life is also interrelated with another person. It can be your mother, your father. I mean, a zone of empathy. Yeah, this lesson also focuses on the sub-themes called empathy. The zone of empathy of lot of people is very narrow. It's not as wide as it has to be. You cannot include another person. If someone says, "I am not well," "Acha, you're not well. Okay, you take rest." You'll have to go beyond that. "Can I do something for you? Can I get you some food? People are not as empathetic as they should be, right? Not as human as they should be. It's about creating extraordinary success with ordinary lives. Now, in the initial minutes of my lecture, I said they come from a humble beginning, right? So, ordinary life, how can you turn it into extraordinary success story, right? That's the end of this class. I'll see you again.